Karen secretly films me jogging and shows video to my boss. I recently had an emergency appendectomy, and recovery has been slow. I had to take time off from my own athletics, but worse, from coaching in the kids sports program I'm involved with. The experience made me step back and realize I really built my whole identity around being active and healthy, so the hit my physical abilities took as a result of being sick and the healing process has made me feel lost. I've been working to regain the joy I used to experience from exercise, without going, oh, you used to be so much faster with that, or your technique used to be so much stronger, or you don't fit in anymore, or whatever else, and just enjoy myself regardless of the level I'm at. But ironically, the anxiety about not being able to do what I used to has made regaining those abilities difficult. It made me self-conscious about exercising in public spaces, but I was starting to finally get over it as friends convinced me the source of the concerns were all in my head. There's no way to get back to it other than training. So despite the anxiety, I started running again. As soon as the doctors approved it, I went to the local track and just did a few slow laps each morning, building up speed every few days, and I've only just been authorized to add some sprints and body weight strength training to the mix. Occasionally there were other people at the track, but I didn't really notice because I run with headphones on and try to zone out in these lighter sessions. But little did I know my friends were wrong. It was not all in my head. I was being watched, and more than that, I was being judged. My absolute catastrophe level worst nightmare at this stage of building back my strength and speed. On Friday I was setting up for practice at the kids program and the head coach asked me into his office because a parent had a complaint. A parent I didn't know too well, Karen, was there, and he said she had specific complaints about me. The meeting almost didn't happen because of Karen's initial refusal to put on a mask, required in our facilities for now, but eventually her desire to tell on me for whatever she thought she had me on overrode her freedoms to infect everyone. I was a bit nervous, as anyone is being called to meet with their boss over a complaint, but I figured it was a classic case of my kid should start more, or I know my kid tried out as a midfielder but I want her to switch to defense. That kind of rules don't apply to me thing. But instead, I sit down in the office, and Karen is playing my boss a video of me running on the track that she filmed from afar. It's surrounded by stadium-style risers. I was horrified, both because no one is ever totally used to seeing themselves on video, and because I was just embarrassed about how slow I was. But most importantly because Y was a virtual stranger. I'd met her personally maybe 4 times, ever, filming me while I ran on my own time at a private facility. She then went on to explain that her 8-year-old son, one of the players on my squad, was lapping me in the video and insisting the coaches need to hold themselves to higher athletic standards than the young players if they want to prepare them for college teams. Again, her son is 8. Apparently her son would sometimes be running on the track while her older child was practicing on a nearby field. I never noticed. The kid is still relatively new, and I don't pay much attention to the other people on the track. My boss patiently but firmly explained to Karen that my physical abilities are not the parents' concern and all personnel are closely managed by the head coaches who understand each unique situation and what's appropriate, and that her son wouldn't be impacted. Karen then went on to say my being out of shape was probably connected to why I'd been taking so much time off lately. Technically yes, it is because I was in the hospital, and complaining that the personnel changeover isn't good for the kids. My boss again reiterated that the head coaches hadn't changed or taken any time off and that I was still one of the most skilled in the area I instruct, so this was not her concern. She asked if there was someone else she could speak to, but he explained that he was the owner and founder of this program. So, no, there was not. I knew my boss was intentionally avoiding saying what had happened to me or even alluding to a health issue, to protect my privacy, but I figured maybe being transparent with her would show her how ridiculous she was being, and keep her tuition dollars in our program during a difficult time for sports clubs. But when I explained, she just turned to the boss and said, well, maybe you should follow her until she's healed and bring on a healthy coach in the meantime, because my son needs someone out there who can keep up with him. My boss respected what I was trying to do but made clear we weren't going further with that strategy to avoid setting a precedent of sharing coaches' personal circumstances, telling her why people take time off or what their health status maybe is. Not her concern because the program manages that and makes appropriate decisions. She kept kicking up a fuss, but the coach finally told her he had to get back out on the field, back to her son and everyone else's kids. She started physically leaving, but continued fussing about how she was not satisfied and would not be recommending us to other parents. Pro tip: not the way to conduct yourself with the people who make recommendations to scouts concerning family culture team interaction. The coach wasn't preparing to leave. Instead, he stopped her in her tracks to tell her if she was found to be surveilling or otherwise harassing any staff members again, she would be permanent from the program. No games or practices, no team social events, no presence in our buildings, and no clemency. So, that was pretty satisfying. Her son is a good, average kid, and I'm glad the consequences were focused on booting her out rather than limiting his opportunities to have fun playing. So then we went out and had a great, happy, safe practice. This was still a pretty upsetting event for me personally though, and I'll never unsee that discouraging video of me running. But it was ultimately reassuring to know the other staff have my back. Leaving Karen in the dust is just another step on my road to recovery. Wow, what a psycho. I'm sorry you had to go through that. Your boss handled that really well. As a business owner myself, sometimes you have to fire customers, clients, and this is absolutely one of those situations. When I first opened my small biz retail store, I got told off by an angry mom who got upset when I told her that I couldn't have her kids in my after school art class if the kids were going to get pulled out early every week. They would get upset and cry and beg to stay and finish their projects. I remember someone saying to me something along the lines of, if she acts like that to a stranger, imagine how she treats other people who know her. When customers threaten telling other people I suck, I remember that I don't, and hope that good people won't take this obnoxious person seriously. Anyway, keep up the good healing work. You can actually use your story to inspire the kids though. You have just been through surgery and you are up and running again, never giving up. I am seriously clapping for you because I hurt my big toe once and refused to get up for a full week. Though a funny thought came to my mind. Go on like Etsy or whatever crafting website you can find and have a huge pin made to put on your clothing that says something like, I got traumatic surgery X month ago and ran X meters or km or miles today. What's your excuse? But again, I'm a bit of a in your face type person and I understand that this would also not be professional. Not saying to do it either, just a picture I had in mind. Christ, I had a similar operation and I couldn't do much exercise until about 6 months in and gained a bunch of weight. I know how bad it feels to lose all your fitness self-confidence. So all credits to you for getting back into exercising outside so quickly and so well. You keep going and ignore those petulant excuses for adults. My boyfriend trained for a half marathon and ran it. A week later he had to have an emergency appendectomy as well. So much of his progress disappeared. It can be so disheartening waiting for that recovery process. That psycho had no right to talk to you like that. Get better. I'm sorry you had to deal with that. Also, your boss is a great person. It's nice to be working for people who have your back. The blindfolded, bulldozer mentality of entitled people in general. This mom specifically ceased being humorous for me a long time ago, but now, I just want to help their victim. No need to go back through her disordered thinking, actions, and overall straight up case of uglies. Let's jump to no one jogging with much thought looks like beauty. We're sweaty, off our form, and would rather hail a flying carpet. I'm still working on counting steps. You're out there, chasing your form, energy, and pushing through reasons. You'll get there. She'll still be in, but that's okay. Get it? Girl, you've got the secret. What an utter moron. If you are coaching soccer, assume this from talk of midfielder and defense. Tell her speed doesn't necessarily make a good player. Look at Letitia. The guy rarely broke a sweat, and at full speed would probably struggle to hit 7 miles per hour but was incredibly talented. It's also a monumental invasion of your privacy. Best wishes for a quick recovery, and I hope you don't have to deal with that woman again. Whoa, your patience is amazing. I would get pretty vocally mad NGL. BTW, glad you're doing better. Side note, your formatting was excellent. Absolutely, you didn't need to explain yourself. A quick look at coaches in all professional leagues and you can see that they don't need to be paragons of athletic fitness. Has anyone ever watched baseball or American football? She's clearly a nut and will always find something to create an issue with. Major red flag. If I were the owner, I would have cancelled her membership, and depending on the contract, consider whether she's be entitled to a refund. I can't think of a sport where the coach is expected to be fitter than the students. Maybe it's different in the US, but outside of it, take say, football. Many coaches are retired players. Many are 50 plus. I doubt any are fitter than their players. There's much more to being a coach than just being as good as and as fit as the people you're coaching. I knew my boss was intentionally avoiding saying what had happened to me or even alluding to a health issue to protect my privacy, but I figured maybe being transparent with her would show her how ridiculous she was being and keep her tuition dollars an hour program during a difficult time for sports clubs. But when I explained, she just turned to the boss and said, well, maybe you should follow her until she's healed and bring on a healthy coach in the meantime, because my son needs someone out there who can keep up with him. Please don't feel the need to justify yourself by telling someone your history when they have already made abundantly clear what kind of person they are. Your boss was looking out for you, and it's great to see that. Also, it sets a bad example of other staff needing to justify their own actions and or absences. My brain went to a mean place. I know it's about the kid's speed as a runner and not hers, but I was like, even with surgery, I bet OP could lap your butt. B. You are kinder than I am. Since when do coaches have to be better than the people they coach? Bruce Arians just won the Super Bowl, yet he's not better than any of his players, and probably never was better than most of them. Hans-Dieter Flick coaches the current European champion, Bayern Munich, but if he was better than any of his players, he'd be playing, not coaching. I'd have told that woman in no uncertain terms to start running, and she'd better hope you don't catch her. I thought this was gonna be a "you're lying and skiving, say you're fired" type of thing. So glad it wasn't, and that you have a good employer. Kudos to you for getting back out there. I had a hysterectomy in September last year and still haven't gotten back into exercise, so that fact that you're doing it all is huge. You should be proud of yourself. XX. Your physical condition before surgery is the reason you can run again now. Most people wouldn't be able to do that. It sounds like you have a great, supportive boss who understands your worth and your skill, and I doubt Karen could keep up with you even post-surgery. Focus on you and your recovery. She's not worth your time. Don't you worry about your physical shape. Slow and steady will get you there. As an office worker who feels like dying during any form of training, both physically and out of shame, I don't even have the excuse of an injury, just paying for bad life habits. And if I can move forward, so can you. And knowing how much better you were is proof of what you can. You weren't born in that shape. You developed yourself into it. You earned it. And you will earn it again. As to Karen, she sounds like the type that need to affirm themselves, through the kids as well, in front of others. The kind of parasitic people who take any opportunity to criticize others so they feel better about themselves. Don't ever concern yourself with their little thoughts, in their little world. So sorry this happened to your poor brother. As horrible as the Karen is, this to me was a really lovely story about your manager, setting her right while still keeping your privacy in their mind. Well done, good boss. It makes you a better athlete and coach to know to take it slow when you're trying to recover. Take care of yourself and, quite frankly, don't listen to the idiots. I bet you get her butt out there and you'd crush her, and parents are going to influence kids' performance more than any coach. Wow, what a crazy person. I can't help but feel like there's a part of this that has to do with you being female. I don't understand how a coach's physical abilities correlate with being good at their job. I've seen plenty of old out of shape dudes lead professional teams to victory. I would have filed a restraining order against that Karen. Surveilling someone with intent of harassment is a serious misdemeanor, and people that do it once will likely try it again. Even with the threat that the coach gave, she could try and post videos on a local moms group, and those are a dumpster fire to start with. All of my coaches growing up were fat and needed a run on the track. I didn't even meet a fit coach until I started working out in a private gym as an adult. My pay teacher in high school would sit on a lawn chair in the middle of the field and yell at us through a bullhorn. The fact you were even upright and moving after surgery is better than most. That is incredibly upsetting. How would she feel if a stranger secretly filmed her, especially in a moment of weakness? How unsettled, unsafe, humiliated, and violated would she feel? Take comfort in knowing that anyone she's told about this knows she is a total creep. Sorry you have to deal with that butthole. I'm so sorry for what happened to you, but what I'm worried about is the kid, because he has to go through it every day. I wouldn't be surprised if she told her kid that he's out of shape for taking 10 seconds while running a mile. Please don't let this affect you in a bad way. You're doing the best that you can and that is all that matters. She is a huge douchebag for recording you without consent, and honestly you just had surgery. You're doing better than I ever could, and I haven't even had surgery, so congrats on that. You're amazing. Keep the video that you don't like and use it. Video yourself from the same point as you progress back to fitness and watch the improvement. Take her spite and make it work for you. Here's something for you. I never knew how well my swim coaches swam, yet I respected them and listened to them. They were encouraging and friendly and maybe a bit tough in some practices. LOL. You know how it is. But yet, I never knew how well they swam or not. There is some technical expertise in knowing how, but I know, being smaller and shorter, that there can be physical limits and that I push them. But encouragement will trump actual performance anytime with coaches for me. I do not care. That Karen can bite me. How invasive that she was filming you. Heck, sometimes I was float on my back listening to music when I hit the pool. I don't go 100% all the time. WTF Karen, I bet you are an awesome coach to the kids. You kept your cool around her. Awesome. I'm not sure I would have done as well as you there. I hate being judged for something that wasn't wrong. Coaches are psychological supports, general supports, have knowledge and create strong bonds for teams to help them function and for individual players to reach beyond they thought was possible. Which has nothing to do with the coach's raw performance on the field anyways. Karen seems the opposite here. She doesn't understand what coaches actually do. Row. Just row. What the frick was that bee thinking? Did she forget that meat suits are fragile? Or that people can still teach stuff while they're letting their body recover from damage? She's gonna get one rude awakening the first time she runs into something debilitating. Karma will come for her. It's a shame y'all didn't throw in the illegally videoing of yourself without consent. Depending on where you live, that is. Where I am, it's 2-party consent, and I have actually threatened entitled idiots with this. They almost crap a brick when it happened, as we literally were across the road from the police station. In most states it's not illegal if it's in a public place. Disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer, so check your local laws. As someone who has always been able to be outrun by an average 8-year-old, frick her. Everyone's physical abilities are their own business, and there's no shame in whatever pace you keep for whatever reason you keep it, and regardless of if you're working to be faster or just having fun. It's such a shame a child has to grow up with a parent as rude as that. You're clearly a great coach and the owner clearly has your back, so the best you can do is your best for the kids. Parents suck sometimes, but don't let them get you down, and don't be afraid to tell your boss if you have any more incidents with that jackass or any like her. About half a third way through, I had that nagging impulse in my head, why not just tell her you aren't at your best yet, you're recovering, she'll understand. And then she proved me wrong. Ugh. As a former high-level sports coach, gymnastics, the idea that how good a coach is depends on whether we can still do the sport to a high standard is infuriating. Coaching is so much more complicated than monkey see monkey do. Can I still double twist with great form? Absolutely not. I'm not training 20 hours a week to do so. Can I spot the slight angle adjustment needed to your kid's takeoff angle to correct the problem they're having completing the twist? Yes, and I'll work with them until it's correct. If I was your boss, I would have cut her off way sooner. Not only did she film you without your permission, but she tried to use it against you. I'd have kicked her out the second she said she was filming my employee for any reason outside of being a background character at her kid's sports game. I'm sorry that happened to you, OP. I remember when I had an appendectomy and it sucked. All of my core strength just faded since they cut into your core muscles. I hope you have a good recovery and wish you the best. But just remember that everyone is their worst critic, and to focus on the progress you're making. You'll get back to where you used to be, it will just take time. The guys worked hard and finished their work an hour early one day, so I sent them home. The payroll lady drove past one of their homes and saw their car in the driveway, so she reported it to my manager. Unbelievable. I'm reminded of a similar situation a few years back, also teaching kids. I would play against them so I could figure out their weaknesses, often doing just one or two things to confirm my suspicions. Kids usually liked it because they would often win and it gave them a good boost. Well, one dad thought it couldn't be that hard and wanted a go himself. Now almost no one they had seen me at competition level speed. The dad was cocky, so I went on full competition level against him. Room went silent after the first point and people were shocked. Started asking me what was this, how did you do that, and so on. The dad never complained afterwards and was actually a really nice guy. He just came from the school of those who can't do teach. Yeah, well, he was half right. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.